Out there, how many know that God is great today? The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty. Let all the earth rejoice. Let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide. They trembled at his voice. They trembled at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? If all will see how great is our God. How great, how great, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. If all see how great is our God. How great, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. If all see how great is our God. Oh, the name, the name above all names, worthy of all praise. We'll sing, all will sing, how great is our God. Oh, the name, the name above all names, worthy of all praise. We'll sing, all will sing, how great is our God. How great, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, see how great, how great is our God. How great, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great, how great. You're the name above all names. How great you are. We love you, God. How great. We worship you, God. How great. How great. How great. How great. For the grace and mercy. For the love and kindness. You're merciful, God. You're wonderful, God. How great. How great. How great. How great. How great. All right, thank you so much for that wonderful selection. How great is our God, right? Give them one more hand clap right there. Thank God for them coming in and sharing their hearts with us. All right, it's time. Okay, so when we talk about history, I can see Miss Key in here, and I can remember being in her class once before. And you don't know the impact that you can have on a person, and you cannot give up on the person at an early age, because you never know who they will become. It's amazing, and I think most educators will agree that ever taught me, they are amazed that I became an educator. I think most would laugh at it. But this is the thing I do know. You have to continue growing and growing, but also knowing what your history is. So right now, we're going to hear a conversation that I think is going to be very valuable when we talk about education. Because education is free now, but at one time it was not. So we want to hear about from these wonderful ladies that are going to share their story on how the integration process started. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll go ahead and get started explaining the process. So first, if you can introduce yourselves, and then we'll move forward.
Hi, my name is Ernestine Allen Talbot. I was Allen. My married name is Talbot. And I was one of the first three to integrate Coffeeville High School. I was born and raised here, as you know, and now I reside in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as a retired oncology med-surg school nurse.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Coyne-Leeds, and I'm one of the three that integrated Coffeeville High as well. I was born and raised in Oakland, Mississippi, and I later moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and I lived there until basically recently, and I just recently moved to South Haven, Mississippi. But I was in the financial services business. I worked at a bank. I was in banking for 29 years, and I left there. And now I'm working at a credit union, and I'm going to be retiring for there early next year. But I'm happy to be here to be with you all today.
Good morning. I am Ollie Beth Brown Whiting. I also was born and raised in Oakland, Mississippi. Spent the first 21 years basically in Oakland, Mississippi of my life. I was, of course, one of the three that went to Coffeeville High in 1969, fall of 1969. After high school, I went on to college, and from there, I went to work in 13 years in corporate accounting, and from there, I matriculated into teaching. One of my former pastors told me, he said, "You finally found your calling." And I told him, I said, I sure did, because I loved it. For 28 years, I taught. Kennesaw State, Atlanta Metropolitan College, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I am married almost 44 years, and I have two wonderful children. And they are just loving to learn about this history, because a lot of it I never told them. I told them some, but never told them a lot of it. So I'm just honored to share this with you all, as well as I'm hoping they're watching as well. Thank you.
This is amazing to be, sometimes you are on the History Channel and you're looking at reruns or maybe some premieres of history. But right now, you are about to listen to three young ladies that integrated Coffeeville High School. So this is amazing. So I'm looking forward to hearing you all share. So I'm a proud graduate of Coffeeville High School. I want to add that in here. So let's begin. We know integration from my perspective. I saw it on TV. You all share, how was it? What was that first day like? Did you meet? Let's start there. Whoever would like to start at there. What did you do? Did y'all meet? Or did y'all just say, I'm gonna wake up, I got my clothes out here, first day of school, I'm ready to go to school? So tell us about your first day.
Well, I could say, well, let me back up. People ask me, how did y'all decide to go? Did y'all parents get together and have a meeting and say, okay, they go? I said, no, it wasn't like that. My parents didn't even know I had signed up until I told them. You know, I didn't discuss it with them. That was a decision I made on my own. There were 11 of us that was supposed to go. Actually, the only one that I actually knew that was coming was Ernestine. Because my dad had ran into her mom, and she had told him that, well, if Oliver is going, Ernestine is going. Because my dad already told me first that you may be the only one, you may be by yourself, because the parents were changing their minds. And so the first day, we all rode different buses. We all had to ride to Oakland to get the bus to come to Coffeeville. I didn't know who was gonna show up. I just knew I was sitting on that bus by myself. And I was, oh goodness, so elated when I saw Ernestine and Marjorie get off their buses and get on the bus with me. So it was just three of us. That's how we got together.
Also, at that time, they had brought out school of choice. And that was the forms. They had passed out forms in our Walker High School. It was Walker High, they had passed out forms. And as you know, in that time, our schools was not well supplied with anything that we needed, equipment and stuff like that. We had books that had been used by the white schools. We had books that came to us after they had torn them up. And so my parents always had taught us that we was as good as anybody. Don't let anybody put you down. You're smart. You can do anything. So when that school of choice, and we had a choice to go to the all-white school, like Beth said, a lot of us signed those papers. Yeah, we want some good education too. We're going to go to. We signed that paper, and I don't think our parents really knew, because that was the time the rioting was going on, and they was picketing, and if the schools was to be segregated, they wanted it to be sex split. They wanted all boys to go to one school and all girls to go, and our parents was not for that. That's the reason a lot of the suits was filed in this court, to get away from the separation of all female and all males schools. So when we signed that paper, and like Beth said, when we got on that bus, it was supposed to have been 11 of us signed that paper, but over the course of the summer, I guess a lot of the parents had backed out. They had not, and so my parents said, no, you signed the paper, so you're going to go, especially if Beth was going. So we signed that paper, so that's where we were. We had to go, because they didn't change it.
Wow. I'm sorry.
And for me, it was very exciting because, like Ernestine said, we were used to having, that books that was torn and worn and everything. And I was very excited because we were going to be going to this school where we were going to get the best. We were going to have better books, and we were going to get a better education. And also they had more classes that they offered than we had at Walker High. So it was very exciting to me, but it was very disappointing when the other people did not show up, and there was just the three of us, because you feel better when it's more. And it was somewhat a little bit scary for me the first few days. I was a little bit nervous because we didn't know what to expect and everything, and we got a lot of stares, and a lot of people would turn and go the other way, some of the students and everything. But as a whole, I think I really appreciated the opportunity to go there, because I feel that it prepared me better for life, because I had been sheltered. We had attended Walker High all our lives, and we were just around us all the time. So they're very comfortable, but well, that experience has sort of helped me with life to know that how when I left high school and go out into the world, life was going to be totally different, and I knew how to learn how to communicate with other people and deal with them.
This is rich. Come on, clap this up. This is rich. Because what happens in generations is this. You have one generation, you have a next generation, but a lot of times they don't connect, and there's a gap that's there. And the gap of information, when the next generation does not get the information, you repeat the same cycle. I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm going through my head listening to y'all as a student and as an educator to hear you say, I get to go to another school where there are better books. It's like heart-wrenching for me right now because it's like, oh, wow, what? You think you've experienced something, but you really haven't experienced anything. So one of the tactics that was used in that particular time was fear. And I heard you all talk about fear. There were 3 people. We're still looking for those 8 people. We're not going to tell nobody. They were absent, so we're going to tell. So you talked about that first day. You talked about kind of how at the end it helped you. Now, first day. So let's talk about first day. You're on the bus and you're looking around, nobody else. Now you've gotten off the bus. Tell us about that experience.
Well, the bus ride itself was very quiet that day. It was like we're sitting now, that's how we sat on the one seat. And we basically sat that way for 9 months. Even that seat became out of seat.
In the middle of the bus.
Yeah, right. And, but that morning, it was a quiet ride. Nobody was saying anything. And I think this really surprised me because, I had read and heard about other schools that integrated and, the chaos that happened and the hecklers and the rocks being thrown and the name calling and all that. That's what I expected. I had braced myself for that. Well, we rode quietly to Coffeeville High, got to the school. There was no cameras, out front. Miss Mormon and the principal, they met us, and I think there may be about 2 or 3 other whites that were standing there. We got out the bus. They walked us to the building. They got us. Miss Mormon took us in. We registered, and then she took us to our first period of class without incidents, which shocked me.
A lot of stairs, a lot of stairs, but nothing. I don't remember hearing any, language spoken to us or anything. And one of our teachers, Mrs. Pace, I would not forget her. She was our geometry teacher, and she stuck by us at all times. She made sure we had what we needed. If we needed to any ketchup or whatever, she made sure that we got everything we needed. And I will never forget her.
I was in this page. People ask me all the time about how did y'all do that? And I said, well, I think the 3 of us went in to be the smartest and most intelligent, young girls that we could be because we all knew the stereotype. And I think it's what shocked a lot of people because you could tell a lot of the white kids had never been around black folks. And so what they had heard about black people, they didn't see that in us. And you would get the comments like, y'all so smart. And you say, okay, what were you expecting? They say, why she's so pretty. What did you expect? You know, y'all hair is so pretty. Y'all dress so nice. So it's really became to the fact that, okay, we're gonna live down the stereotypes. Because we know what y'all was expecting, but you're not getting it. And that helped us with the teachers of this place, and she really did. She took us from the very beginning, and geometry kicked my butt. I ain't lying. It kicked my butt because I made my first C the first semester there. And I told my mom, I said, I've never made a C. And actually at that point, I was like, maybe I need to go back to the I was like, I'll lay a student. I never made a C. And so my mother said, don't worry about it. She said, she's finding everything that you didn't know. And it proved to be true because when I got to college, lo and behold, I had to take algebra and I had to take business math. If it hadn't been for that geometry class, I would have flunked algebra in college. I never would have made it. But I was able to pull back on stuff that she taught us. The English teacher, now, I call her name, but she was pregnant. We knew it. You could see it. But she could teach English.
Yeah.
And I told my mother, I said, I'm worried. I said, she's teaching stuff that I never heard of. You know, and we got the diagramming sentences, and I'm like, I never heard of that. You know, parts of speech. I heard of parts of speech, but I didn't know the parts of speech like I should have. So my mother had an old grammar book. She said, here, use this book. So that was my tutorial on the side. So that's how I learned my English. And when I got to college, I had no problem with English. And, you know, I got it there. I'm, you know, not to put down the black school, but honestly, I knew when I signed up for the freedom of choice that I was not getting the education that I needed to get at Walker High School. Ernestine was interested in being a nurse. Well, the chemistry lab was going up, biology lab. She couldn't take nothing there. The typing lab was going up. We couldn't take typing. So that was my thing. I was like, okay, I knew I wasn't going to be a fast food worker. I knew I wasn't going to stay in the cotton field to work. So I was like, okay, I want something that's going to help me to go higher than where I am. And that's why I tell people all the time. I said, it's not that I hated my school. I loved Walker High. But Walker High wasn't supplying me with what I needed.
And also, like Beth said, like I said, our parents taught us that we could do anything. And so we studied, we did what we needed to do. And like she said, the students even asked them, boy, you guys are so smart. But we knew we could do it. We knew we could do as well as they could. And I think, I don't know whether they still do that, but when you graduate, if your academics are high, that orange cord, I still have mine. I graduated with academic honors, and I think Beth graduated with academic honors, so yeah.
I actually graduated, and I still, in my heart, can't believe I should have been number 3. But I graduated number 4 in class. I want to say, the 3 of us, we were like joined at the hip. Yeah. Because really, we helped each other out. You know, Ernestine was catching on geometry quicker than I was. So I leaned on her. You know, it was on that 20-mile ride back to Oakland. That's where we sat there on the bus, we did homework. You know, while the other folks back there saying things they shouldn't have been saying, and throwing things they shouldn't be throwing.
Yeah.
We just ignored, we doing homework.
Yes, because back in Ernestine, they were always the A student. I was the average student. So I had to really lean on them for their support and everything. And they really helped me and pulled me through as well. And in geometry, it kicked my butt as well. I was pulling my hair out, staying up at night and everything. So I think I got with Beth and Ernestine, and they helped me to grasp it and everything, and I passed geometry with a C, and I was happy.
But I will say one thing that happened in that class. There were 2 white girls that was, exceptionally smart. And I think when they saw how hard we was trying to get this stuff, they started helping us.
I want to talk about geometry. I'm a math teacher, math educator. I want to say that geometry is something else.
Yes.
I'm reminded of a quote, and I might be butchering it. For students, they don't want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. I'm hearing that in the conversations where you're distinct by saying, this teacher helped me, this teacher could have helped me, but it did not. So it's amazing how what someone does before, because in my mind I'm thinking about trauma, I'm thinking about the emotional trauma. But I'm also hearing something that's so important, I think you all can resonate with this, perseverance. You said it didn't stop here and it kept going. This is helping me out right now because I'm thinking about what's going to happen this fall for those kids. So
I want to share something. Ms. Mormon, who was the assistant principal at the time,
And
and basketball coach. She was teaching a bookkeeping class. Well, I was watching the kids and listening, and it was interesting to me. So my senior year there, I tried to sign up for the bookkeeping class, but I was like, okay, this is interesting stuff. I like this. Well, they told me I couldn't take it. So I talked to her, and so she said, you really want to learn bookkeeping? I said, yes, ma'am. So she said, well, I'll tell you what I do. We had a class, when we went to class at the time, we went to the library. She said, I'll talk to your teacher and go to your class at the library, and I'll see if she'll excuse you to let you come to my room. Well, I thought I was going to be in the class, the rest of the students. But what she had was a room that was a closet. And she let me sit in that closet and listen to her class. And she gave me the worksheets just like they were doing. I'd sit there and I'd work. She wouldn't give me a book, but I'd sit there and work the worksheets. So I learned assets, liabilities, and all, and I'm like, oh, I like this stuff. So when I got to college, I was like, I think I want to be an accounting major, but I wasn't quite sure. So I went into general business. Well, I did later declare accounting major. And basically, I attributed to everything that I learned from sitting in that closet, learning from what she was teaching.
And as Beth was into accounting and I was the sports nut, I was the first and the only Black on the basketball team. I have some articles over there. We won championships. And it was amazing to me because our basketball team traveled a lot. And being the only Black on that basketball team, I really didn't feel the danger that I could have been in, or I probably was in. But I realize now, you hear your parents say, I'm praying for my children. When they go out every day, I'm praying for them. And I realize now that my parents' prayers was the one that kept me safe in those places that I knew danger with. Being the only black in on a basketball team, traveling all over the state of Mississippi because we traveled. I slept in hotel rooms with white girls. I remember one uh, weekend we stayed in a church, an all-white church. I was the only black there. So, well, at that time, rioting was going on, racism. I could have been killed, but either something could have happened to me and nothing would have been done. But I know that my parents prayed for me and God's protection was with me.
So as y'all are talking, I'm reminded, I know I got a lot of Bible people in here, but a 3 chord is not easily broken. As y'all are talking, as thinking about it, you spoke about being average. It didn't matter because y'all were together.
Yeah.
And when you're linked together and you're working as a team, you see a team. You don't see the individual person. This is good to me. I don't know about y'all. This is good. This is good. This is good for me to hear your stories, to talk about sports, to talk about how even though it could have been, it didn't happen. And how you all bonded together on how you kept going. So my next question is, you told me 9 months y'all were on that bus, same spot. How did y'all deal with that mentally and physically, just going on the over and over? Did you change seats? Did you say the same seat?
We sat in the middle of the bus, because they sat in the back.
Right.
We sat in the back and we sat in the middle. And we kept our same seat. I think because we were young and everything, and when you're young, you're sort of fearless about a lot of things, and you don't think about the danger that you're in sometimes. So I think that's probably what got us through.
And I think they probably, a lot of people, a lot of the whites, they church you like they gonna rub some of our black skin off. And so those seats, I think, became the black girls or whatever they call us seat, because they didn't want to sit there because we seated there. Nah, they weren't gonna sit in the same seat that we had sat in. I remember in the school, one young lady, she didn't want to be in the same room in our presence. When we came down the hall, she saw us and she made a double turn to go the other way. She couldn't stand to be in the same area with us.
Misinformation, how bad information, incorrect information, how it feeds us and makes us behave in the wrong way. Man, that's amazing to hear y'all say that.
But I'll tell you about the bus ride from Coffeeville to Oakland. There were names, we were called names before. We were called names. Things were thrown at us. But I'll tell you one incident that kind of stopped everything. It was funny after we thought about it. They would throw smoke bombs on the bus. And the smoke bombs would never, well, actually everything they threw, nothing ever hit it. So I see, there's nobody can tell me that God didn't have us. Yeah. Whether it was spitball or pencil or ball or whatever, it always went past us. It always went down the aisle, or you hit somebody else. You never hit it. The smoke bombs would always land either in the aisle right by us or in front of us. One evening, they threw the smoke bomb and it landed in the lap of one of the richest white men in Oakland, daughter. From that day forward, my daddy used to say somebody had a meeting. From that day forward, nothing else was ever thrown on that bus. We laughed about it after. It wasn't funny at the time. But after, we were like, okay, somebody had a meeting and said something, because when it landed in the roof lap, we had no more problems.
No more problems. So you shared amazing stories. We're wrapping it up. So I'm just going to leave it to you all, something that you want to share as we're closing up. You can go in any order that you all would like. Share one thing that you want to share with those that are here and also those that are on the World Wide Web.
I would like to say, I have three daughters and three grandchildren. My grandchildren is 9 and 12 and 13, my granddaughter. They didn't have to go through what we went through. They don't know what their foreparents went through, or even me go through. And I think and I admire Mr. Hawkins so much for bringing this history before, bringing it to the forefront, because we need to know our history, especially our young people need to know. They just think a lot of things was handed to them on silver platter. I picked cotton to buy my clothes. I was out in the hot field. They don't know anything about that. So we need to let them know our history, where we came from, and don't be ashamed of our history, because our history is the one that brought us to where we are today. I thank God that I went through some of the things that I went through, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be the person or achieve what I have achieved in my life. So our grandchildren and some of our children need to know that it was a struggle. It didn't come by easy. And I think that was one reason that I wanted to graduate and get a career and make sure that I could take care of myself and be the best that I could and be as better off housekeeping. And they would say, can you empty my basket and can you tell my nurse to bring me a shot? And I said, I'm not too high on, I will empty your basket, but right now I got your shot to give you. And they, oh, you my nurse? I am your nurse. Do you want your shot?
I would like to say that I appreciate this experience, and I think it's a good thing that we share our history. And I think that's one of the problems with some of our young people today, because they don't know their history. They don't know where they came from. They don't know what our parents went through and everything. And I think that it needs to be taught more, and maybe they would understand and they would be better and do better.
I would just say say that, I am happy to be here, and thank you, Reverend Hawkins, for this forum. But I would say, that I told people, Coffeeville had to happen. It had to happen. We were the vessels that was chosen. God chose. We didn't choose. He chose us. Because when I look back on it and think about it, people say, would you do it again? I have to think about it, you know, from stuff that we went through. You know, we put our lives in danger. And I tell her, I said, we were too young, we were smart, but we were too dumb to know how much danger. Our parents' lives were in danger. You know, none of our parents was harmed, none of our homes were burned down. You know, it could have been because of us. You know, but I would say Coffeeville had to happen. I'm proud it happened. I'm proud I'm a product of that happening. And through life, as I taught over the years, I've shared that story with students, especially Black students who want to say, you don't understand. You just don't understand what we're going through. You know, and all the time I tell them, I said, you see what color skin, what is this? I said, I'm as black as you are. I said, no, let me tell you what I'm talking about. And so when I was finished, I said, now, do I understand? Yeah.
This is, yeah, give them a clap. This is amazing to hear. Thank y'all so much for sharing your story. I don't understand it. I appreciate you all. Thank you for taking those steps out so that I was able to get an education. Thank you. I appreciate you all. And thank y'all so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
What grade? What grade? So, grade. What grade did you start?
Oh, 11 grade. 10, 11, 10, 10, 10, 11.
10th, 11th, yeah, 10th grade,
10th grade.
fall of 1969.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I started sophomore year. Yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, so to continue on those 2 years, 1 year, whatever that time span was, to keep going is definitely amazing.
Yeah.
You did not stop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that-
after the 10th year of our junior year, that was when integration was remained. Yeah, that's when the whole school, Coffeeville was integrated, but we went our 10th grade year, just the 3 of us. And then it was ordered to integrate our 11th year.
Clap it up for them. Thank you all so much for coming up and sharing your stories about the integration of Coffeeville High School. And we wish you well. Don't stop telling your story. Okay? Don't stop telling your story because it's going to encourage others to live what I call a transformed life. So, thank you all. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to start back up with addition to our forum. We're going to hear from 2 different groups as we move forward. All right. Thank you so much. She got a long time. She got a long time. Why they got them? But we're so glad to have y'all on the praying hands. All right, so we are at part 2. So thank you so much for being here to witness, to hear about history. Now what we're going to look at is the staff portion. So we have Mr. Horton here, which was a bus driver, and Ms. Key, which was also an educator. So thank y'all so much. As the conversation happened earlier, I look forward to hearing you all. So the floor is open. So tell us about your experience in you being in that particular position. We heard it from the student's perspective earlier, but now from the adult's perspective, how was it?
From the adult perspective, it was sometimes complicated, but we had no major problems between the staff. The staff and the administrator had some problems, however. I started work in August '67, which means I taught school in the all-black situation until '69, within the school year. My daddy, Miss Smith, the Browns from Oakland, the Allens, and all those people, the folks from Coffeeville, just a bunch of men, Brother Roland, everybody know him. They all became very concerned. We were concerned, but we teachers wanted to keep our job. We know how that was. So we didn't make a lot of noise at that time, but we were glad they were making a noise. So there was a young man that went to school in Alcorn, who was the agricultural teacher. And he would meet with the men of the community. And in addition to talking about the agricultural aspects, they would talk about the society and what was happening within our schools. So they decided to organize a concerned parent, etc. committee. And this is when they started thinking that we have to do something about our children. They have textbooks that have been used over and over. I remember when I would write the names in the books, a lot of times I knew the people that had the books, you know. We had no monitoring convenience, to say so. There was a typing room. It had the Smith Corona, the great big typewriter, maybe 1 or 2 of those, and your classes were overcrowded. How can 30 people use 4 Smith Corona typewriters? Shorthand was a little better. We had textbooks. And for some reason, they weren't as old as the rest of the books. But our basic books, which we needed the most, your English, your math, all that, they were outdated. So what I did during that time, I spent the little money that we had to spare and buy current events. So that's how I kept my students up to date on what was happening in history. Later on, I learned how to do a lot of other things, but I started teaching at 21. I got married at 21, started teaching at 21. So I heard into a lot of things. So I was trying to a lot of times teach like my old teachers because I was familiar with them. And they relied on rote memory, you know, where you had to learn the Gettysburg Address. You had to learn the 82 counties. You had to learn the 50 states, the capitals. They learned all of that. But then there became an awareness that they need to know more about the world around them too. So in U.S. history, I also tried to relate to the states, what they produce and all that kind of stuff. What we get from those states to carry on our economy. So it wasn't as bad as it seemed. It just was the aspect in which there were a lot of discrimination in cases. I went to Oakland. As somebody said something about Oakland. In '69, I brought you up in '69. Okay, I went to Oakland after I was pregnant in '69. And after my daughter was born, what happened to me was that in August, we would get our contracts. And I would go to the superintendent and tell them, are you going to let me have the parental leave? He said, yes, Ms. Key, yes, Ms. Key. So he did. I thought that was nice. Okay, the baby came in October. I went back. I said, when am I going to get my contract? Just wait a little while. I thought, okay. I was enjoying the baby, spoiling the baby. And finally, it came to my mind that these people are not going to give me a job. So I told Mr. Clinton Smith, I told Mr. Horton, Mr. Allen, and all those folks who were working at the committee, they're not going to give me a job. So they had already hired an attorney Ford, I believe it was, to take care of the business that was already at hand. So he talked to the Board of Education, and eventually they sent me to Oakland in February. So I went from the beginning of the school year in August up until February without a job. Okay, to punish me, they put me in elementary school. My license was 7 through 12. So somebody had mentioned it, I told them I was like that little girl. So they put me in elementary school. So they asked me about that. So eventually,